Uh, Best practices of RESTful programming. So we are going to talk about base URI design and versioning and paging, searching, partial data, message, and timestamp. URI design. So recommendations: use nouns and don't use verbs. So here we have an example of good design versus bad design. So use /customers rather than /get customers. Okay, so use nouns. The /customers /:ID, that's a good idea, rather than /customers /retrieve /:ID, that's bad design. In terms of creating a new item, so you're going to use the post and then you specify customers. Yeah, maybe it should ID should not be there because it's actually creating a new item. Yeah, so that might be, yeah, this one should be, it's just it's supposed to be just the customers rather than the :ID. Okay. And the bad design is using new at the end, right? So URI design, use nouns rather than verbs. And examples you have seen so far, they all use nouns, and that's a good thing. Make it simple, meaning make it short, easy to use, and easy to understand. Okay, so these are examples: customers and customer/ID, customer/ID, and orders, and the order/order ID. So basically, they are representing customers and orders of that particular customer and things like that. Use plural rather than singular. So /customers is good, while customer is not good. Okay. Let me see. There is a question from Mikal. I'm hoping you're pronouncing your name right. Customer, not S, is wrong. Okay, so you see the answer. Good. Yeah. So basically, use the plural. That's the recommendation. Okay. Okay, versioning. So there are two different approaches on versioning. So it could be based on URL, which is actually more, I would say, the popular. So the URL is going to be services, and then you have a version number, and then /resource. Now, the problem of this approach, however, is that client code might need to be changed whenever you are introducing new version, right? So you're actually tightening up. You are introducing some tight coupledness with the client in that case. Okay, so this approach is recommended when the server code does not change that often, because you don't get to have so basically you are trying to minimize the client side change. Okay. Another approach is using media type based approach. So in this case, the version information is part of the media type. So here, application/JSON foo, and then application, that's a parser, and then you specify the version number over there. So this is a bit more flexible on the server side because it does not really dictate the client to change. Okay. But there is a bit of more work on the server side because you have to actually parse this media type. I mean, basically, you're going to actually parse this string and to figure out what version they want to use. Okay, so the first approach is a bit more straightforward. But it actually introduced some tight coupledness with the client. Second approach is a bit more work on the server side, but it actually provides less tight coupledness with the client. So you choose one of these options depending on your situation. Okay. All right. So exercise 1 is a versioning exercise. I mean, this is really simple. I mean, you are basically introducing new URL. Let's see. Did I? Okay, so best practices. Here we go. JPA. Okay, so labs, best practices. Exercise 1 is version control. It's pretty straightforward. We just introduced the version number, version 1 and version 2. So when you run the application, it should actually work as expected. And then you can see we are just using a different path, V1 customers. And when you're upgrading your server-side resources, then you're going to actually bump it up to V2. Okay, and again, client has to actually change code. All right, yeah, so I mean, this is really not a big deal. Okay, so I'm gonna just move on. Okay, paging and searching and partial data. So use it when, paging, use it when there are too many records to return. If there are too many items that you have to return to the client, then you want to actually provide the starting point and the size of it. So these are examples from Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. So these are real examples that Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn are using. So Facebook, they use offset and limit. Okay, and Twitter is using page and RPP, and then LinkedIn is using start and count. Okay, so basically, the providing starting point and the size of it. Okay, yeah. So this is paging. Searching, use query string on HTTP GET. So basically you are allowing client to specify first name is Mary, region is Boston, offset 20 and limit 10 and things like that. Okay. Global search versus resource specific search. Global search, you're going to provide the global level of search, and the resource specific search, obviously you're going to specify resource and then allow the query string. Okay, yeah. Okay, partial responses. We have already seen examples of this, right? We haven't seen this. Yeah, so partial responses is that use it when you want to limit the fields of data. So in the case again, LinkedIn, if a user wants to see just the, from a people resource, they are just interested in ID, first name, last name, and in industry. In the Facebook case, they actually allow you to specify the request parameters, fields equal ID comma name. So basically you are retrieving just ID and name, and others might be field and type media address city, something like that. This could be in fact the city of address of the media. So I mean, even this could be actually supported. So use it when you ask. So return, state, to do, sort, and priority. Yeah. So this actually allow you even letting the sort based on priority, reverse priority on priority, and created and things like that. So there is actually no standard on these things. People, different companies are using different kind of convention. As long as you actually find something that you like and stick with it in your organization, that should be good enough. Okay, so this is actually retrieving partial response. Okay, so let's see, exercise 2 is partial response. Yeah, so this is already something we have done already. So this is, the start 2 and size 3. This is actually paging rather than partial data, I would say. So here we are actually retrieving from customer number 2, and we are retrieving 3 customers. Okay, yeah, so basically this is paging rather than partial data. I should actually change the title of the exercise. Partial data is that from the customer, you are basically interested in only name and first name and last name only, or something like that. Okay. Again, this is pretty straightforward. So let me just continue the presentation, and the lab is really nothing much to it, so I'm gonna just continue. Message, prefer JSON over XML. I mean, that is basically the trend these days. JSON is a lot more popular than XML, mainly because JSON is lighter than XML. It's less verbose than XML, less number of characters than XML. JSON is more readable than XML, right? And JSON supports also some data types such as number, string, boolean, array. Especially if you're using JSON data on the client side, where you're using JavaScript, then JSON is kind of native it can be actually evaluated to native JavaScript object right away. So so it's going to be a lot easier for client JavaScript code to deal with than XML. Okay. So JSON, use camel case for JSON field names, and use the zip by default because it will reduce the size of the. It will reduce a bandwidth usage, and you can set accept ending header to zip. Okay. Post and put. Yeah. So creation is. Creation typically you do with post, and update you do with a put. In general, you should return resource representation as part of the response, and so that client does not need to call again for updated representation. Okay. Creation with a post, and this is something that we have learned already. You should return 201 status code along with location field set with the URL of newly created item. Okay, timestamp, use standard ISO 8601. Okay, yeah, so this is something that if you need to actually pass around timestamp information as part of the data, then you want to use this format. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation, and I think there is really no the need for doing the lab.